The connection between the biblical Lord and the British Lord. Brothers and sisters, I stand before you today with a question that challenges the very core of your faith and history. The word Lord evokes images of power and authority. Throughout history, different cultures have used this title to denote leadership. Biblical Lord and British Lord. Which one has affected humanity more? This is not a simple academic question. This is an invitation to confront the truth about power, authority, and the origins of our beliefs. For too long we have been told that the Bible is the ultimate source of truth, but what if it is not divine inspiration that has shaped our understanding of God, but human agendas, power structures, and the pursuit of control? The power of titles. Let's break down the title of Lord as it appears in two distinct but deeply interwoven contexts. In the Bible, that Lord refers to God and Jesus Christ, symbols of ultimate authority, sovereignty, and divinity. In British nobility, a lord is a title given to individuals of high social rank, men who stand above the common people, wielding power and influence. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The title of lord is used to justify both divine authority and the manipulation of human subjects. Are these two lords really that different? The biblical Lord. In the Bible, Lord is a divine title used to describe God and Jesus. It signifies supreme authority over all things, but what if this title has been manipulated? What if the stories we read in the Bible, stories of divine wrath, genocide, and judgment, are actually human constructs? Who wrote these stories? Who decided that the will of God was to be represented by acts of violence and domination? Could it be that the biblical Lord is less about divinity and more about asserting human power through the divine narrative? The Old Testament is filled with stories where God commands the destruction of entire nations, the killing of innocent people, and the infliction of suffering. The question we must ask is this really the nature of a loving, just God, or is it a human-created narrative designed to justify violence, oppression, and conquest? The British Lord. Let's now turn to the British Lord, a title held by aristocrats, landowners, and conquerors throughout history. These men were not divine, they were human. Yet their title, which should have been a symbol of service and protection, became a tool for dominance, subjugation, and control. They ruled over people with violence and intimidation, justifying their actions with a divine mandate. Sound familiar? The British Empire expanded its reach across the world, often justified by the same religious narratives that were taught to subjugate and enslave. The British lords in many ways took the power granted to them by religious authority and used it to establish their own empire, an empire built on the backs of colonized people. Authority and power. The biblical Lord and the British Lord both hold immense power, but their authority comes from different sources. The biblical Lord is said to have inherent divine power, while the British Lord inherits their power through the monarchy and the peerage system. But the impact is the same. Both demand submission and obedience. Both exercise their authority over the lives of others, whether by divine command or through force of arms. Historical and linguistic connections. Let's explore the etymology of the word Lord. The Old English hlafod, meaning guardian of the bread, was originally a title given to someone in a position of authority over others, especially in the feudal system. The term Lord was used to translate the Latin Dominus and the Greek Kyrios, both of which are used in the Bible to refer to God or Jesus. But how is it that the same word can describe both the divine and a human aristocrat? The deeper we dig, the more we see that the language of power has been carefully woven into both religion and politics. Hidden secrets. Who holds the real power? Let's stop pretending that the Bible is a purely divine document. It was written by human hands, hands that were deeply influenced by the political and social contexts of their time. The very stories we read in the Bible were shaped by men who had their own agendas. They used the concept of God's will to justify their own actions, to legitimize violence, and to maintain power. The Bible, in many ways, became a tool of control. Consider the story of the conquest of Canaan, where the Israelites are commanded by God to wipe out entire populations. The Bible calls it divine judgment, but could it be that these stories were written to justify the actions of those in power? Could it be that the people who wrote these stories were not divinely inspired, but politically motivated? Could these men have used the name of God to justify their own ambitions? Attributing violence to the divine Throughout the Bible, we see countless instances where God supposedly commands violence. The destruction of cities, the slaughter of entire nations, these acts are presented as divine will. But what if these actions weren't really commanded by God? What if they were the actions of men who used the idea of divine authority to legitimize their own violence and conquests? This is not a new phenomenon. British lords did the same thing. They conquered, enslaved, and brutalized, all in the name of divine right. We must ask ourselves, are we really worshipping a God who commands such violence? Or have we been manipulated into accepting a narrative that serves the interests of the powerful? The impact on humanity. The biblical Lord has shaped history in profound ways, particularly in how we view power and authority. But we must recognize that the Bible has also been used to justify violence and domination. The British lords used the Bible to conquer, colonize, and enslave people across the globe. They spread Christianity not as a path to salvation, but as a tool for subjugation. The question of submission. The key question we must ask is this: when Africans accepted the Lord of Christianity, were they truly accepting salvation? Or were they accepting the will of the British Lord hidden behind the mask of religion? The spread of Christianity was not simply about salvation, it was about submission. It was about bending to the will of colonial powers who used Christianity as a way to soften resistance and justify their own brutality. Boy, the hidden truth. The truth is that the biblical Lord and the British Lord are not as separate as we've been led to believe. Both wielded power, both demanded submission, and both used the idea of divine authority to justify their own control. Christianity, as it was spread by colonial powers, was less about salvation and more about creating obedient subjects. The Bible became a tool, not for liberation, but for enslavement. Brothers and sisters, it is time to wake up. We have been living under the illusion that the Bible is the unquestionable word of God, but it was written by men who had their own interests at heart. We must question the narratives handed down to us, uncover the truths hidden beneath layers of power and manipulation, and reclaim our faith from the hands of those who have used it for their own gain. A call for critical reflection. It is time for a critical reflection on the stories we've been taught, the history we've inherited, and the power structures that have shaped our understanding of God and authority. We must stop accepting blind submission to a narrative that serves the powerful, and instead seek to understand the true nature of our relationship with the divine, free from human manipulation, free from empire building, and free from the chains of control. The biblical Lord and the British Lord both have shaped our world, but neither has done so in a way that liberates or uplifts. Now is the time to question, to seek the truth, and to reclaim our own faith.
The title of Lord is used to justify both divine authority and the manipulation of human subjects. The biblical Lord and the Bible Lord